Welcome to the NonProfit Voice Tech Series, a special edition of the NonProfit Voice podcast, hosted by Mark Becker, founding partner of Cathexis Partners and editorial advisory board member of NonProfit Pro. In each episode of this monthly installment, Mark will have conversations with prominent nonprofit organizations and industry thought leaders to learn more about different technology offerings in the marketplace. Join us, and together we will learn more about these innovative digital tools and how to navigate the rapidly evolving technology landscape.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Mark Becker here, founding partner of Cathexis Partners, and today I am joined by France and Shawn with boodleAI. Shawn, you want to kick it off and introduce yourself and a little bit about boodleAI?
Absolutely, Mark. Great to see you, and thanks for having us on. We appreciate it. So, Shawn Olds, the CEO and co-founder of boodleAI. At a very high level, we provide enriched analytics and machine learning power predictive analytics to nonprofits to help them find their best donors and cultivate their strong current donors. And as a background, I started my career in the military, went into startups after the military, and have pretty much been doing startups all the way through, with the exception of a brief stint back in government service, doing counterterrorism work after September 11th. And have also, throughout that entire career, been serving on some sort of nonprofit board. Literally the day I graduated college, went on my first nonprofit board that was focused on youth education, and have continued for 20 plus years to always serve on some sort of youth education board, as well as after the Army, several veteran service organizations boards. And it was because of that background, both the startup and the nonprofit, when France had his epiphany on the concept behind Boodle, that he approached me. And so France, I'll turn it over to you to introduce yourself and kind of talk about what led to the idea.
Yeah, thanks, Shawn, and good morning, Mark. Great to join you and your listeners today. I'm France Hoang. I'm one of the co-founders of Boodle, serve as the Chief Strategy Officer. So in a nutshell, I am basically, if I had to pick one word to describe myself, unemployable. I've been a soldier, a lawyer, a soldier again, and then an entrepreneur across several different companies. But throughout all that, been driven by a desire to serve. I currently serve on 5 different nonprofit boards. Throughout my various incarnations, I've always been a fundraiser, whether it's for my companies, whether it was for political campaigns, or whether it was for the nonprofits whose mission I was trying to support. Lots of experience raising money and helping other people raise money. And it was my napkin that the idea of Boodle was on the back of. And essentially, throughout my fundraising career, I've always been amazed at the people who I thought would absolutely give and didn't, and the people who I didn't expect to give would. And being a bit of a data geek, I always wondered, is there a way to leverage the data that's out there to help organizations better connect with the people who are passionate about their cause? And that was the impetus behind Boodle. If I had to describe it in non-technical terms, I would say if data is the new oil, Boodle's a refinery. So we take the data that organizations all have, nonprofits all have contact information, whether it's for their donors or their donor prospects or their supporters, and we turn it into something more useful. Just like if somebody hands you a barrel of oil, you're gonna look at them and say, what am I supposed to do with this? It's not helpful until you turn it into something like gasoline or kerosene. And then it's not really useful until you put it in some place where it can make a difference and put it into an engine of growth. And Boodle helps with that as well.
Yeah, I love that saying, data is the new oil, because I mean, it is. You go to these conferences, or you hear different sessions, and you hear people talk, and it's all about data enrichment and getting the value out of it, because we're collecting all this stuff, right? It's all out there. Sometimes it creeps me out a little bit how much people can know about us, but at least we should control our own destinies when it comes to that, right? Especially organizations can learn more. That information's out there, so use it to your best intentions. And so tell me more about, Shawn, if you could, more about the data enrichment and how you're using it with nonprofits to help them out.
Absolutely. Well, one of the first things France and I realized, both having worked with nonprofits for over 2 decades, was most nonprofits don't have a lot of data. Some of the more developed organizations, your larger nonprofits, of course, do, because they've built it up over years. But most nonprofits, they know the name of their donors, they know how much their donor gave, they know where that person, maybe their email address, their postal address, but not much more. And so what we wanted to do was take skinny data and be able to turn it into big data. Because the fuel at the end of the day for AI, machine learning is always going to be data, and being able to turn that then into something. And so the core of our technology is in the identity resolution. So being able to pick out that the Shawn Olds that is in the donor database is the Shawn Olds that lives in Northern Virginia and not the Shawn Olds that lives in, say, Phoenix, Arizona. And then what we're able to do is merge that with access to 3 different databases we have of over 240 million Americans, and bring in over 1,200 different data points. And what's important and kind of differentiates us from other predictive analytics companies is our ability to bring in what we call affinity-based data points. So a lot of predictive analytics companies will bring in what did Mark click on recently in an email? What websites has he visited? How long was he there? What did he tweet? All that information you talked about is kind of scary that they know. Well, you're leaving it out there as digital exhaust. And all of that is very good at kind of looking at your intent in the near term. When France and I built this, what we really wanted to do was get at the core of finding lifetime donors to an organization. And so we bring in more affinity-based data that really looks at the past 10 years of an individual. Where have they lived? Where have they worked? And a variety of other pieces of data that are all out there, but really go to build kind of that affinity of who an individual is and who a group of individuals are. So now as an organization looks at its major gift donors, what do their major gift donors really look like? How do they break out across age groups, education levels, geographically? And just really start to give some deeper insights that's really going to help with donor acquisition, donor retention, and the variety of other challenges the development team deals with.
And then how do those organizations use that successfully? I'm assuming it's more than just like an email drip campaign, right? I mean, there might be some of that, right? But I mean, you're talking your high potential. I'm assuming, pick up the phone or jump in the car and go visit and do some meet and greets.
Well, not last year, right?
not lately, but maybe again soon, I hope.
Yeah, no, there's a number of ways organizations use, we call this, by the way, enriched analytics. So you take data, you do this matching, you figure out who they are in the real world, you bring in you turn data into big data, and now you can get analytics, insights, and predictions. All of that we call enriched analytics. And how do nonprofits use it? They take the data they have. We can provide personas. Who are the people living in this list? Well, I could take a list of names and emails and all of a sudden tell you, this is the demographic profile. This is how they prefer to be reached out to. We can provide advanced predictions. This is what people would typically call wealth screening or wealth scoring. We can predict people's wealth rating and their giving capacity, as well as their preferred outreach. We can take data that organization has and build custom predictive models, what we call guide-ons. And so, we have many nonprofits, they give us a list of their repeat donors and say, I want to find who else in my list of donors looks like my repeat donors so I can try to convert them to become recurring donors. And so we take those contacts, we enrich them, we use them to build a model, we test that model, and then the organization uses that to find other donors that look like the donors they want to find more of. And combining those things I just mentioned have a lot of different potential use cases, right? Whether it's donor acquisition, finding high value donors, whether it's optimizing a past campaign, there's really no limit as long as the organization has the appropriate data.
Right. You have a couple of examples or case studies that you can kind of walk through, what you did for the organization and how they use your findings.
Yeah, so we launched the platform early last year. We have well over 100 organizations that have signed up to use our enriched analytics. One of our partners, our customers, is Charity Navigator, and they recently used us to reevaluate one of their past campaigns and try to improve in the future. And we did what I just described. So we took a list of their contacts and divided them into 3 areas: hidden gems, non-donors who had used their services and donors who were not yet monthly recurring donors. And they were able to examine the persona for each of those segments and understand first who's in those categories. Then we took the data of the donors they want to find more of, the hidden gems, the non-donors who use their services, and the donors who are not yet monthly donors, and they built custom predictive models and then used that to retarget, refocus their efforts for this year's campaigns. And the results were pretty extraordinary. They had a 78% increase in response rate among previous non-donors. So instead of 3.3% response rate, they had nearly a 6. They had a 42% increase in revenue among the previous non-donors that they targeted. There's an 11% increase in revenue and average gift among the hidden gems. And they had a 44% overall increase in response rate. And what we love, one of the contacts they reached out to in the hidden gems category ended up giving a $20,000 donation.
That's pretty incredible. Great return on their investment, because it's not just, paying for your services, right? It's the investment of their time and actually, doing this. And I'm sure that's, all takes, it's considerable when it's all put together, but with returns like that, you can totally see that it's worth the effort.
Well, Mark, that brings up a great point. So one of the things that we have certainly learned over the last year, I've always appreciated how busy nonprofit developer professionals are. They're so busy that even if they have something that's a great idea, that's useful, there's always the question of, is it worth my investment of time and energy, let alone, what the costs are. And so one of the things we've done over the last year is really try to evolve the platform from being something where you have to go and do a bunch of work and pull data to a platform that pushes useful insights to our customers. And so as a nonprofit professional, you may say, this all sounds great, Boodle, I just don't have the time. I don't have time to learn something new. I don't have the time to go into the platform, and I don't have the time to save myself time. Like, we actually literally hear people say that. And so one of the features we've rolled out this past quarter is what we call enriched reports, where we take all the insights, analytics, and predictions available in Boodle, and we actually put them in a PDF report that's emailed to our users. And so instead of having to go pull information is pushed to them, useful information in a format that they can save, they can share, they can send. And these reports are built around the most common use cases of what nonprofits want to do: understand a contact list, optimize a campaign, figure out a fundraising strategy going forward to find a particular type of donor, or do some comparative analytics, or report to a board about fundraising efforts.
I like it. All right, Shawn, anything else to add to that?
I mean, so one of the things that France and I came to realize is we've been, since day one, we've been trying to key in on the term, we wanted to democratize data science. And now at the same time, though, we're a business and we had to build a business, and we followed what most SaaS businesses do. And we set out with a typical enterprise license. And what we realized is, even with a nonprofit discount, that entry-level pricing originally was at $15,000 for an annual license. And that's not quite democratized, especially in the world of 1.5 million nonprofits in this country. Not all of them can afford that. And that just became a blocker, no matter how badly they wanted the technology. And so we went back to the drawing board and frankly followed suit of what other SaaS companies have done. HubSpot, right before they IPO'd, moved to what they call a usage-based model. Twilio, which is a very large software as a service company, started out on a usage-based model. And in doing so, because what we realized is a lot of the clients we were talking to, we were trying to sell them a Lamborghini. And at the end of the day, they were standing at the corner 7-Eleven a mile from their house with a gallon of milk, and they just wanted to get home. And they're going to buy the Lamborghini, and they were never going to get it out of first gear. And so what we decided to do was move to a usage-based model so that individual nonprofits who are very individualistic could start to look at, hey, I'm just going to buy what I need, whether it's the enriched reports that France talked about, whether it's a wealth screening, or whether they need a little bit more and need to do build a bespoke guide on specific to their major gift donors. But they get to choose. They're not kind of forced into a one-size-fits-all package. And so we were really excited last month to launch that. and it's been really well received. We're seeing a number of organizations that we had talked to in the past that had turned us down because of pricing, who are now able to jump on and use the platform as they need it when they need it.
Yeah, that was really the onus for when I heard about that. We had chatted, and I was like, "Yeah, let's get you on here and chat through it," because I think that is so important. Because the top 100 nonprofits are the named those big organizations out there, national and affiliate national organizations. Those you can kind of get in the door, and they already probably have a plan. It's those mid and smaller organizations that can use this data as well, right? And probably find it much more valuable and really hit the ground running. I'm sure see great returns. So being able to allow them to use the parts that they need with the amount of time that they have, right? Like France was saying, they're wearing so many hats, right? In these organizations, even if they're really large, they're usually, wearing a ton of hats, and many of them are accidental techies and data monkeys, along with everything else they're doing, right? They might be the executive director and a data monkey, along with several other roles. And so trying to squeeze in this while it's really exciting, it needs to be exactly the right fit, because we see so many organizations that have these really large platforms, have the Lamborghinis, and are using a fraction of it. So I always love it when people can dip a toe, get familiar with something, and get smarter with it, and see where it can take them. That's great.
Yeah, Mark, we're really excited about this usage-based pricing model. We've had very large nonprofits that have the resources to have their own data science teams reach out to us. Hey, we've heard about boodleAI is doing. We heard about you through the grapevine. Can you show us your platform? These are nonprofits that they literally have half a dozen data scientists on staff, spending tremendous amounts of money doing exactly what we do: building predictive models, doing enriched analytics, providing personas. I mean, really sophisticated. There's a handful of nonprofits in the world, right, in the United States, that can devote that kind of time and resources. But obviously they feel it's important enough that they're willing to devote the resources to build these capabilities, to refine the oil into something more useful. We're excited that we can offer that to any nonprofit, and just the part they need. Like you said, dip the toe in the water, and then also grow alongside them. As they have greater needs, they just go back and, hey, here's another part of Boodle I want to use. I want to use these type of modeling, or I want to do this type of reporting now. And you pay for what you use as you go. We've had a number of nonprofits now that have signed up under this model, and in a short time, they've started to ramp up their usage of the platform.
I'm going to surprise you here and just throw out a use case here, a theoretical. So let's say there's a small nonprofit, regional, maybe it's a food bank, right? They're in a local area, not huge, but not small. Maybe they're doing $1 million to $5 million in revenue. They've never done anything with data enrichment, any of the analytics, and they want to dip a toe. Any advice to get them started?
Absolutely. So one of the great things, so the pandemic's been viewed, of course, very negatively, as it should. It's been a huge pain to a lot of people, and many people have suffered very grievously. In the nonprofit world, the lemonade that can be made from the lemons, in my mindset, is that nonprofits have accelerated more around the technology adoption curve in the past year than they have the past decade. And so they're realizing they have to make use of technology in new forms. Food banks are one of the places in the nonprofit space that have actually increased their donations. So our food bank clients that we've seen have seen a mass influx of new donors, but they know statistically, and Mark, this statistically, first-time donors, 80% of them are not coming back. And so now a food bank with the same size development team is having to go through many, many more donors and try to figure out, where do we put our efforts so they're not wasted and we don't lose that 20% who's likely to stay with us. And so, in a very, very immediate case is take a look at your current donors and then compare them to the people that came in. So if you've had, 1,000 new donors come in, let's try and identify the 200 or 300 that might be most likely to become that 20% that are going to stay with you. And let's focus the team's time and effort on that. And whether it's a small, medium, or large food bank, they're all dealing with that same issue.
Yeah. So, Mark, so how would they get started? We offer what we call quick start packages on the website. And literally for $4.99, you can get started with one particular use case. So for this food bank, maybe they want to better understand who their current donors are and get a sense of where they can find more donors that look like that. So they want to have maybe sign up for a quick start package that focuses on optimizing new donor acquisition. And we can take 25,000 records, provide them a multi-page report, access the platform, and they get basic predictions about that. Maybe they say, well, look, that sounds great. What I really need is the ability to wealth screen, 20,000 contacts. That's another package where you get advanced predictions that provide you wealth screening and channel preference. The third option is to build some custom modeling, do what Shawn just described. Like to build a model of a set of donors that we want to find more of, and then apply that to a donor prospect list. And so, those are three very easy ways to get started, very common use cases. And so we've made them available at a super low entry point that any nonprofit can afford.
Got it. So, what I think a lot of organizations are even struggling. They hear the buzzword, AI or data enrichment. What is this thing? What else can you share about that from the nonprofit perspective?
Yeah, I think Mark, you saw one of my presentations a couple of years ago when we were actually meeting in person, and I always put up the picture of the Terminator because a lot of people, they hear AI and that's the first thing that they picture. One of the things that France always stresses as we talk to clients is the most powerful AI is not the machine. The most powerful AI is the human machine team that goes forward. So there are things that a machine can do in hours that would take a human development associate weeks, if not months, to do. And there are things, though, that a machine just could never do. A machine can't know that one of your major gift donors, parents just passed away. And no matter how much money they're worth or how valuable they are, now's not the time to go ask them for money. So being able to pair the human with the workload that a machine can carry, and then allowing the human to then carry that information forward and act upon it, makes for a really powerful team. And we see that as organizations realize that, they start to adopt it even more quickly.
I like it. Yeah, it definitely demystifies it. That's great. All right, France, any final thoughts?
No, Mark, I think Shawn summed it up nicely. Sorry, I was just racking my brain to think if I had any of the pearls of wisdom, but no, I think
you can't beat that, right? That's hard to pass.
Yeah.
I like it. No, that's terrific. Well, thanks, guys. I was looking at your LinkedIn profiles. You both went to West Point, is that right?
We did, and we actually did not meet there, though.
That's going to be my next question.
We were there at the same time. We did not know each other there. We ended up meeting the summer after France graduated in the U.S. Army Ranger School down in Fort Benning, Georgia. So we went through that kind of miserable experience together, and after that, we're like, starting a company will be easy together. So let's just do that.
Well, much respect. I went into the Air Force when I was 17, so I took the leisure club, trip instead. But all respect to you guys.
It's still service, and that's been one of the great things that France and I really enjoy about this company is we're constantly working with people that are serving others. And that's just been a pure joy for the past 6 years.
Well, that's awesome. I always love those origin stories and hearing where everybody met. And I know Shawn, we met originally probably 6-7 years ago now. So great to see you guys are growing. Great to see the new offerings, and I think what you have to offer can really help nonprofits. So all the best to you, and thanks for joining me today, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Nonprofit Voice. You can listen to more episodes of The Nonprofit Voice at nonprofitpro.com/podcast/the-nonprofit-voice. And remember, for your convenience, you can stream any and all episodes of The Nonprofit Voice on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify.